Today on Egghead. Flat Earth Theory. Let's do this. We've all heard by now that Flat Earth Theory is making a comeback. Rightfully so, it turns out. The entire thought process behind Flat Earth Theory is so simple that even a moron can follow it. So, let's jump right into it and look at this picture of an ocean. That's right, an ocean. But we're not looking at the ocean. We're looking at the ocean's horizon. I can show you the very basic premise of Flat Earth Theory from looking at this picture alone. Drawing a flat line all the way across the horizon, we should expect there to be some curvature in the horizon. However, there is no degree difference apparent on the horizon, like there should be on a spherical planet. It is a flat line all the way across. This means that Earth, as we know it, is not a sphere, but is actually a flat surface. We live on a large, flat disk where no one is allowed to leave for reasons we are not aware of. The edge of this disk is actually located at Antarctica. Anyone can prove me wrong by simply walking to Antarctica, but you'll soon notice a problem. It's wholly impossible. The only ones who have ever been to the South Pole are a number of scientists. Turns out they actually visit very cold areas to film their adventures, such as Greenland, the Russian North, the Canadian North, or Alaska. And this Antarctic ice everyone refers to all the time for global warming references is actually ice samples that are made in a laboratory. That's right, they're just ice sticks made by scientists. Scientists form these large samples of ice in large freezers, where they can adjust the gas levels and seemingly predict what conditions must have been like thousands and thousands of years ago. Total. Other issues that aid in the development of this theory are based on the origin of the round Earth theory. Christopher Columbus, the originator of this theory, propositioned the idea of sailing around the Earth to reach India to the Spanish crown. While this itself sounds like an innocent, incredible idea, it is actually far from it. The Spanish crown at the time was considered a de facto world power. Also, when Columbus presented these ideas to the crown, it was a full 14 years after the Spanish ruling family and the Catholic Church began one of the most infamous collaborations in Spanish history. That's right, the Spanish Inquisition. With the church in such a strong connection with the Spanish crown, the Spanish could communicate with all the other world powers of Europe through the church. In this way, the world powers, or they, colluded to hide the secret of flat Earth even longer, while at the
Same.
time proving the strongest evidence against the idea. It was mind-blowing. Before Columbus, they convinced the world that the Earth ended after Europe, because they didn't think anyone could be able to sail across the Atlantic. By allowing Columbus to explore west, they could move this imaginary boundary to its true boundary in Antarctica. They knew that, unlike the Atlantic Ocean, Antarctica could never be explored. So, in cooperation with the Church, and therefore the rest of Europe, a community of officials allowed people to explore west. Christopher Columbus, in turn, provided a convenient scapegoat for mankind's crossing the previously uncrossable ocean, the Atlantic. So, backed with such strong evidence, anyone would be forced to accept the fact that the Earth is indeed flat. And accepting that the Earth is flat, we must consider what else they might be hiding from us. If the Earth is flat, nearly a two-dimensional surface, what else might be nearly two-dimensional? Let's start with the most obvious example of flatness besides the Earth. Have you ever looked up in the sky on a nice clear night? Did you ever see the moon? Well, how about the next day? Or the next day? Or the next year? Or the next decade? Do you see my point? The moon is always facing the exact same way. The yin-yang symbol appeared in use in 1500 years BC. We still see that same yin-yang on the moon today. Likewise, references to the man in the moon go back as far as 15th century Europe, or in Kid Cudi's album Man on the Moon. If this were a 3D object, we would expect it to rotate or show different views as the night progresses. However, it stays fixed exactly, facing directly towards Earth, towards us, never changing. Popular science describes this effect as tidal locking, where a large body of water on Earth shifts and changes positions, locking the moon's face towards Earth. But this only works on a round Earth. How then could we explain this phenomenon where the Earth is actually flat? Well, there are many possibilities. It is to my belief that the moon is actually a 2D projection or object that moves across the night sky. This would explain why it is always facing exactly the same way. This could explain why the moon always looks exactly the same, even when facing the moon from the very edge of the planet near Antarctica. So, if the moon is flat, what else is flat? While we cannot trust pictures from sources such as the Hubble telescope, which is reported by scientists to orbit the globe, we can trust telescopes of our own. A question that is raised is, why can we make out the shape of distant planets and view them with weak telescopes? Simple. They are significantly smaller objects or projections in the night sky than the moon. Telescopes function the same way as binoculars, magnifying an image and making it easy to see. Thus, by focusing in on these objects, we can see them in the night sky, when normally they are almost too small to distinguish with the bare eye. This raises an interesting question. Why are these images in the sky so much smaller than the moon? Well, the answer to that is actually quite simple. These images are much more smaller and much more complex than a simple 2D projection such as the moon. These objects can be thought of as complex projections. Looking closely at the surface of these images, you can actually see changes. The reason they are so much smaller is that it would take a considerable amount of energy and complexity to produce a moving projection than a still one. Thus, the size of these astral bodies are actually significantly smaller than compared to the moon, but they are also, at the same time, significantly more complex than the moon. So, if the sky is, for all intents and purposes, just a screen for 2D projections, what else could be flat? The answer to this may be more shocking than you might expect. Look at this image. It appears to be a 3D rotating shape, correct? Well, actually, that is incorrect. Everything you've seen in this video so far has been a 2D projection on whatever screen you're viewing it on right now. While our brain thinks there may be real events happening, in reality, it's all 2D. Our brain is intelligent, however, it can only process so much as far as visual imaging goes. These images on the screen are perfect examples of that. Going even further, look around the room or area you're in right now. You can see 3D figures all around you, correct? Again, you're wrong. What you're perceiving right now is actually a combination of two 2D images that each one of your eyes perceive. These combined images are referred to as 2.5D images. 2.5D image refers to images with depth. Your brain combines two different images from both eyes and slightly skews them both to produce a single image which your brain interprets with depth. Much like this 2D image on the screen right now, your brain makes sense of the image by applying depth to it. In this scenario, the two images on the screen are two different 2D images. On the left we see one picture, and on the right we see two bars. By combining the two, we have a 2.5D projection that our brain thinks is 3D. By separating them again, we remove this effect. And to remove this effect with your own eyes, simply put one hand over one of your eyes. Everything now should appear in true 2D. Reach towards something. You cannot actually tell when your hand's going to reach the object because your sense of depth is completely removed. Since everything we perceive is 2D, what is to say that everything isn't actually 2D? Is our brain just trying to make sense of the world where everything it perceives is a projection? Put your opinions in the comments. I welcome any participation in this important discussion. Thank you for enjoying this informational video, and please like, favorite, and subscribe.
Hello, you. Yes, you, the one watching this video. Do you want to see another video like this one? Of course you do. Just click on the box on the screen and you'll see where it takes you. No conspiracy theories here, only truth. Who knows what it'll link you to? It may even take you to another video just like this one. It could be a video about Jeb Bush talking about his passionate love for his father. You don't know, it could be anything. Just give it a little click and see where it leads to. Are you still here? Hey, try watching another Egghead video. They're excellent quality and produced very slowly. It's not hard to see why people enjoy them. Feel free to leave feedback on the topic, and, it might just become the topic of another episode. Put that bad boy down in the comments, and you'll be surprised. It could just be the topic of the next video.